Hello everyone! Once again, another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. I haven't done an updated deck profile of this since Supernova Dragon, but now with the Crimson King structure deck for Jack Atlas, we finally got more Red Dragon Archfiend support and I am just so happy that we did. Sure, it's not the Red Dragon Archfiend that I was really imagining. In fact, I was imagining a Majestic Red Nova Dragon, just so we could have like a parallel to Majestic Shooting Star Dragon, but it's still nice that we saw new support for Red Dragon Archfiend, and I was kind of just hoping that it was going to be both Majestic and Red Nova variant of it in the structure deck, but we didn't get that. Instead, we got more extended plays, which I would take as well with some support. And overall, I really like it. The deck is just so much better, so much more fun. It's not meant to be competitive, but fun deck it is. And Red Dragon Archfiend has been one of my favorite design ace monsters, especially for the rivals. So yeah, I ended up building the deck. In fact, I built all the rival decks. So yes, and Supernova is also awesome, so of course I built the deck as well. But other than that, there's not really much to say here other than it's just meant to be a fun deck to play all full-on offensive and aggressive. Not really a defensive deck, so just keep that in mind. But other than that, let's just begin. So we start off with the main deck like usual. I'm going to start off with the red monsters, the support cards that are not Resonator, because this is still Resonator deck, Jack Atlas after all. We start off with Red Ward. So when you normal summon a Resonator, you can special summon it from your hand, and its attack and defense becomes half. The only important thing about this card is that it's a level 6 monster, so combining it with a level 2 makes level 8. It's just another way to extend plays if I need it. You could technically take this out for other cards now, but I still kind of like it, so I just run the one. And it has been very helpful sometimes for the big synchro plays, and you don't need to be using Red Rising Dragon. Next, for a new card, the Bone Archfiend. So first off, if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can discard one card and special. So first off, you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon this card. But you are restricted to Dark Dragon Synchros for the rest of the turn, which your whole entire extra deck is. And the other effect is that you can Foolish Burial or send one Fiend Tuner from your field or deck to the graveyard and increase or decrease its level by 1, which is also very helpful. The Foolish Burial one is pretty good. The other part where you're going to special summon it, you'll be using sometimes. Usually it's going to be a special summon target with another monster. But other than that, this is just really good just to make your plays. And being in the graveyard, yeah, that's a very good play extension right there. So yeah, Bone Archfiend is just a really good piece. It also gets you pieces to the graveyard, which you will need. So that's another added bonus. And then I run the Wandering King Wildwind, which if you have a Fiend Tuner on the field, you can special summon this card. Most of your tuners are going to be level 2, so that's not going to be an issue, and I'll make level 6. Sometimes you can make them level 4, make it total level 8. But the other effect is that if this card's in your graveyard, except during the turn it was sent there, you can banish it and then add one Fiend Tuner with 1500 attack or less from your deck to your hand. It's just very helpful, makes your plays, and the fun part is that the special summon part is not hard once per turn. So yes, you can make more plays with that. Continuing off to the one of Red Sprinter, just for some comeback plays, because if it's summoned and you control no other cards, you can special summon one level 3 or lower monster from your graveyard, which of course will enable a synchro play, and sometimes you just kind of need it. And then another card that has been very helpful is the Red Familiar. So you can tribute one card, aka itself, to special summon one Dark Dragon Synchro from your graveyard, but its effects are negated. And also you can tribute, and also you can banish from the graveyard to change one monster's level from 1 to 8, which is also very helpful. Yes, there are other better stuff, but this has been proven very useful, so I just run one. And then finally, 2 Witch of the Black Forest, just because this is another summon target for your Resonators to combine with, and it extends plays because sent to the graveyard, you can add 1000 attack or less monster from your deck to your hand, which has a lot of special summon targets right there. So, which is why I run this. Of course, you can run other cards just for better plays, but of course there are other cards that can be just as good at this, but it's just personal preference. So that's it for the non-Resonator cards. Now to the actual Resonators. And there's a lot of them, because there's more tuners than non-tuners in this deck. So first off, Creation Resonator, which can special summon itself from hand if you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster. Not hard once per turn, by the way. Next, the Crimson Resonator, which can special summon itself if you control no monsters. And if you control only one Dark Dragon Synchro on the field, you can special summon 2 Resonators from your deck. Of course, that's the multi-tuning aspect of this card, and that's the whole point of this deck, is multi-tuning. And of course, both effects are hard ones per turn, and of course, it makes your plays, so obviously, you're going to play 3 of these. Next, Red Resonator, which is going to be one of your main normal summon or special summon targets, which has the effect is that if it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. And if it's special summon, you can target 1 monster on the field, gain life points equal to that monster's attack. And the fun part is that since your Red Dragon Archfiends are going to be so big, you're going to regain a lot of life from this. Yeah, so no reason not to run 3. And also because it makes your plays. And then another new card, we go to Vision Resonator, which can be special summoned from hand if you control a level 5 or higher Dark Dragon Synchro. And this being a level 2 with a level 8 can make it a level 10, so keep that one in mind. And then the other effect is that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Red Dragon Archfiend card from your deck to your hand. Very helpful. Next, for another new card, we go to Soul Resonator, which has the effect where when this card is normal special summon, you can add 1 Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, aka either your Bone Archfiend or your Wild King, because both of them can special summon themselves. And the other effect is that when your Red Dragon Archfiend monster would be destroyed, you can banish the card instead, which is also very nice for some protection. And then finally, for the last of the Resonators, we go from Synchron Resonator, where you control a Synchro monster, special summon it from hand. If it's sent to the graveyard, even if it's from hand, you can add 1 Resonator monster from your graveyard back to your hand. That is not itself. And the special summon part is hard once per turn, but the return part isn't. So keep that one in mind. But overall, it's just basically there to extend your plays. Level 1 tuner just really helps as well. Finally, the one-of Chain Resonator, where when normal summon, you can special summon 1 Resonator from your deck, which is of course going to be very helpful because it helps you with multi-tuning. So that's it for the monsters. Time for the spells. We go to Resonator Call, which searches up any Resonator, and it's now hard once per turn. And then we go to Resonator Command, which you can discard 1 Resonator to add 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, which you have 2 good targets for, and sometimes you need the Resonator in your graveyard. Some effects will activate by doing that too, and it's just there for some extra consistency plays because you have way more Resonators than non-tuners. And then to a new card, Crimson Gaia. So during your main phase, you can add 1 Red Dragon Archfiend card from your deck or graveyard to your hand that is not itself. Obviously, that's going to be really good because basically it's your archetype searcher. Except it's only restricted to Red Dragon Archfiend cards that says it in text, so that might be a little bit of an issue that most of your Resonators don't actually have that text in it. But some of your main cards really have the text in it, so this is still really playable. But anyway, if your Red Dragon Archfiend monster is destroyed by a battle or card effect by your opponent, you can special summon 1 exact name Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. It doesn't have to be original name Red Dragon Archfiend. It's your level 8 Red Dragon Archfiends, the ones that actually count as Red Dragon Archfiends, spoiler alert, because they all count them as the graveyard as well. So just keep that one in mind. But just remember, the special summon part is exact name Red Dragon Archfiend, aka Scarred Right will also count as well because it counts as part of it, and the new Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. And then we got Absolute Power Force, which is of course the attack card for Red Dragon Archfiend, where if you have exactly the Red Dragon Archfiend, you activate all these effects. First off, it gets 1000 attack, and then it does piercing damage, plus any damage that your opponent takes is doubled. And while it's attacking, your opponent's card effects cannot be activated. Just very powerful to basically finish off your plays. And yes, you will actually have that 1 Red Dragon Archfiend on the field a good number of times. So it's a pretty useful search card to basically burn down your opponent. And in fact, sometimes you can even OTK your opponent with this because make your Red Dragon Archfiend Scar Right, for example, 4000 attack while it nuked your opponent's board, and then suddenly your opponent takes like 1000 damage just to take 8000 because it's gonna get 1000 attack, make it 4000, yeah, plus the double damage right there. So overall, it's a nice card to run. You don't have to run it, but I personally like it since I do see the Red Dragon Archfiend on the field quite often. And then we go to Burning Soul. I don't exactly really like this card other than the fact that you can add any card from your graveyard back to your hand, and it's a quick place, so it's not too bad. But the part that a little bit bothers me is that if you control a level 8 or higher Dark Dragon Synchro, you must perform the Synchro Summon immediately. That's the only thing, meaning that you need to have the setup ready right before you activate this card. But of course, it does give all your monsters protection for the rest of the turn by card effects, which isn't too bad. But like I said, you have to immediately be able to Synchro Summon, which can be a bit of a hindrance of this card. Other than that, it's not exactly too bad. And then finally, Monster Reborn, because you can reborn your big monsters back. And the Pot of Avarice, because you're going to go through your deck a lot. And then finally, for some traps, first off, Red Zone. It does have Red Dragon Archfiend in text, so it's a Red Dragon Archfiend card. It's a continuous trap where it's a hard once per turn. When your opponent activates a card effect, you can choose one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Very disruptive right there, and I really love that. The other part is that you can target one of your Dark Dragon Synchros that are banished and special summon it, aka your Red Supernova Dragon or Red Nova Dragon. Even Red Rising Dragon, because all three of them are going to banish themselves somehow. And the Red Nova Dragon or Red Supernova Dragon are going to stay there for like one whole turn, especially Red Supernova that comes back in the next turn after. So sometimes banishing it, leaving your field empty, can be really big of a hindrance sometimes, that it just leaves you wide open. So just being able to bring back the monster sooner than expected can be very helpful. But overall, it's not too bad, especially the destructive play, and it's searchable, so I just run it as one of. Finally, the Red Rain. Red Rain is just really good because if you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster, banish all other monsters on the field other than the ones with the highest levels, and everything else is unaffected by card effects. Since your Red Dragon Archfiends, aka your Red Nova, Calamity, and Supernova are level 12, this can be quite nasty, especially when a lot of monsters can't go to that level. And just being able to banish the whole board while making your monsters unaffected by card effects is just very powerful. So I really love that about this card. And then the other effect is that if the Dark Dragon Synchro monster is special summoned to your field, you can add it from your graveyard back to your hand. Of course, each effect is hard once per turn, and of course the return part isn't too hard because there's multiple ways. First off, there's the Banish Red Nova or Supernova effect where they special summon themselves back, or you just perform them in regular Synchro summons. And there's a lot of special summoning in this deck, so it's not hard to trigger the other effect off. Too bad it doesn't have Red Dragon Archfiend in text though. So that's it for the main deck. To the extra deck, we start off with, of course, Red Rising Dragon. This is your main starting play for the deck. It just requires one Fiend Tuner and one or more non-tuners, and when it's summoned, you can special summon one Resonator from your graveyard. Summon back a level 2, so you can summon back a level 8. And the other effect is that if you control a Dark Dragon Synchro on the field while this card is in graveyard other than during the turn it was sent there, you can banish it to special summon 2 Resonators that are level 1 from your graveyard, which is of course going to be very helpful for your double tuning plays, or multi-tuner, means Supernova is 3. So this is a 3 of. The special summon the Resonator from your graveyard from the first effect is not hard once per turn, so you can actually do this twice to make your plays. Next, just for a little bit of a generic card, I run Kaput the Blade Dragon because we finally got a Dark Dragon Synchro for level 7, and this is here for just in case measures. You don't have to run it, but it's here for just in case measures because it's pretty decent still. When Synchro Summon, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. If this card on the field is destroyed, you can target one face-up monster on the field. That monster cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn, and of course each effect is hard once per turn, so it isn't entirely too bad. It's just mostly here for being a Dark Dragon Synchro level 7. Now, we go to regular Red Dragon Archfiend. This card has become more important to play even though it's not the best card because it has Red Dragon Archfiend in name, an exact Red Dragon Archfiend name. And this is from the extra deck too, so it just becomes more important for you to run it, especially with Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. So it's generic. Of course, it punished all your monsters for not attacking during turn. If it attacks a defense position monster, it destroys all your opponent's defense position monsters. So this card is just pretty good beat stick, but you really run it because it's part of the deck name. Also because original name from the extra deck is going to be very important, so you just have to run it. In which, speaking of the name for the extra deck, we got the new Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. So, generic tuner, one or more dark non-tuners, and first off, on the field and graveyard, it counts as regular Red Dragon Archfiend. And that's what I mean that this is going to be a Red Dragon Archfiend. That's why Absolute Power Force still works. But anyway, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Red Dragon Archfiend from your extra deck. Exact name Red Dragon Archfiend, in fact, that's why this is going to be very important. And because it's going to be sent to the graveyard through multi-tuning, you're going to be basically extending your plays because you're going to be summoning this and then basically make your further plays. That's why I'm running 2 of these, because it just really helps. Now, the other part of its effect for that is that if it's a synchro summon card sent to the graveyard, you also nuke your opponent's monster board, which of course makes it even stronger that you just summon a new monster and nuke your opponent's board. And that's what I really love about this card. It's just basically full-on aggression. And then I run the one Scar Right Red Dragon Archfiend, still counts as Red Dragon Archfiend on field and graveyard, but this one in particular is the main one that you're going to really have on the field, because this one can nuke the whole board of every monster that is equal or less than him, that is not himself, and burn your opponent 500 points of damage for each. That part can potentially kill your opponent, especially when you play Absolute Power Force, and that's why I love it. And then, to evolve the Red Dragon Archfiends, first off, we got Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which can hard once per turn, negate one face-up card on the field. Even if your opponent decides to just activate that, still face up. And if this card inflicts damage, you can special summon one tuner from your deck or graveyard in defense. And that, of course, can make more plays, but most of the time you're not going to do that. You only use it for the negate. And then we go to the Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, which, when this card inflicts damage, you can special summon 2 tuners with the same level, one from your deck and one from your graveyard. Most of the time you're not going to do that, you're actually doing it for the first effect, where you can tribute one tuner from the field and special summon one Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. Any name Red Dragon Archfiend, not exact name Red Dragon Archfiend. That is just pretty good. It just basically lets you revive some stuff. Unfortunately, you can't bring back your Nova Dragons because they're not Red Dragon Archfiend in name, but they are still Red Dragon Archfiend in text. In which we run the Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, or Red Dragon Archfiend Tyrant in the Japanese side, where during your main phase 1, you can nuke the whole entire board that is not itself, but only this card can attack for the turn. So yeah, I'll nuke your opponent's board, direct attack. Very powerful. And once per turn during the battle phase, if your opponent activates a card effect, you can negate it, but since you're nuking your opponent's board, it's not exactly going to happen, but sometimes it does happen since you can't afford nuking your opponent's board, so I guess. And it also gets 500 attack on top of it, but like I said, most of the time you're going to nuke your opponent's board before you even get that chance. At most, there's just the hand traps. And then for the anime evolution, we got Red Nova Dragon, requires 2 tuners and 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, gains 500 attack for every tuner in the graveyard, and cannot be destroyed by card effects, and you can negate attack by banishing it. And here's the banish part that comes in, because at the end phase of the turn, you special summon this banished card back. Overall, it's just pretty strong and it's pretty easy to summon. And then we go to Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity, which once again, same materials except that it's Dark Dragon Synchro instead of the Red Dragon Archfiend, and when summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects for the rest of the turn, and if it's destroyed by any means, you can special summon 1 level 8 or lower Dark Dragon Synchro from your graveyard, which, yes, it does happen. And being a 40,000 beat stick is pretty powerful that, yeah, it's very likely going to happen. And also, it has the Flame Wingman effect. Finally, the Red Supernova Dragon, the ultimate Red Dragon Archfiend. This one requires 3 tuners. The 1 or more non-tuner part is just generic. So first off, just like Red Nova Dragon, gains 500 attack for every tuner in the graveyard. This being its base attack being 500 points stronger, this is going to be stronger than Red Nova Dragon itself, especially if you summon in normal means. Most of the time it will be 5500 already. The other part is cannot be destroyed by card effects. And if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish it to nuke your opponent's board by banishing it. And then during the end phase of the next turn, not the current turn, you special summon it back. So it is 1 turn slower than Red Nova Dragon, but the upside is that you nuke your opponent's board for daring to activate a monster effect, or even attacking you. It's because that part is when your opponent attacks or activate a monster effect, you nuke your opponent's board. That part is just very powerful. It's just hard to deal with. This card is overall hard to deal with, especially the cannot be destroyed by card effect part. So most of the time your opponent needs to solve this card with spells and traps, but that's pretty hard when most of the cards nowadays is monster effects. But overall, just pretty powerful and really cool final boss monster. Still waiting for a Majestic Red Nova Dragon. So that's it for my newly updated Red Dragon Archfiend deck post the Crimson King. What do you guys think of it? Overall, I say it's a pretty cool deck, pretty fun. Once again, multi-tuning aspect of its playstyle, and I really love that. Just cool design because Red Dragon Archfiend And I really love the new support. It just made the deck much faster, especially now with the true focus of actual Red Dragon Archfiend, just made it better. Kinda wish it says Dark Dragon Synchro, but I get the Red Dragon Archfiend part still too, and I'm just glad to see Red Dragon Archfiend support because it's been so long. The only thing missing is the Majestic Red Nova Dragon, like I said, because I kind of want to parallel to Majestic Shooting Star Dragon, but overall, still pretty cool, pretty fun. In a way, I kind of like the usage of the regular Red Dragon Archfiend because that was falling out of relevance. Kind of no point of being like the main rival deck without using his base 4 main ace monster. So glad that they did something with that. But other than that, that's it for this, and see you all next time, and I want to ask for some suggestions on what other cards I could run.